I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows. It has to stop.
Sense of me, you will never stop the free. Thinking that's gonna shut you down. Post the truth, then go to town. Sense of me, kick me off of every platform. I'll just go to get a gab and rumble. Now you can't stop me. I think we all see it, but cannot believe it. The glint in our eyes as we look at the sky to see that it's falling and people are calling. I think we all know that the end is nigh. But how can it be? The people is me. I posted a tweet and it got deleted. Don't look at me like I'm conceited. If you conceded, then tell me why you stuck on the YouTube, then on the Facebook, calling it meta. We fed it the cheese, I mean fed it with cheese. They wanna release all of your data to screw up your piece. They censor me, then take liberty. Don't even let me post up with the need. Album to blast, they gonna ban that. Take it off Genius, you can't even read the lyrics of Brandon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You are now tuned in to your favorite daily show for news and entertainment, where of course the dress code is business casual, right here on the Chandler Brief. How are you guys doing? It is Tuesday, March 15th, and we had a multitude of subjects that we're going to be jumping into today. First things first, I want to say hello to everybody. We did not do a show yesterday, so I guess I can say, hope you guys had a good weekend. Happy to see you guys back here this week. No Monday show, so we don't have to really deal with any of the sad Monday vibes that is part of the coming back to the week. But of course, we bring this show to you guys most weekdays at 3 Eastern. And then of course, we also have a weekly show on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8. So you guys will be able to join me once again tonight. So I know some of the people that can't quite tune in live at 3. Of course, you can watch the replay of our live show, 30 minutes, we try to keep it. Or watch our shows at 8 Eastern every night, or every Tuesday and Thursday night. But aside from all that, we have a ton of subjects we're going to be jumping into. Let's not dilly-dally any further. Let's start the timer and jump into the subjects right about now. President Zelensky of Ukraine is now urging the Canadian Parliament to support a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Now, this has been a very what's the word I can use for this? A very controversial subject that has been surrounding this whole Ukraine mess for weeks now. Now, of course, it was something that plagued American politics. Obviously, that is not something that we could support because a no-fly zone over Ukraine will be an act of war, basically, because who is going to enforce that? Enforcement of that is going to be a massive problem. All sorts of things like that are reasons, and very good reasons, why we cannot support such a thing. So it seems Zelensky has packed up his bags and moved on from the American news cycle to instead capture the Canadian news cycle. Let's just jump into this. Ukrainian President, and I always butcher his name. In fact, one time I called him Vladimir, which was a little bit embarrassing. It was a slip of the tongue. Thankfully not a Biden-level gaffe, but still pretty bad. Volodymyr, I think, Zelensky on Tuesday addressed Canada's House of Commons, requesting further assistance in the conflict with Russia, and asking that they imagine what it would be like if they were the ones being attacked, because that's the ultimate way to pull on a country's heartstrings. Say, what if it was you being attacked? Would you institute a no-fly zone? Of which, it would be kind of different. Addressing Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, Zelensky said, "Dear Justin, can you imagine every day you receive memorandums about the number of casualties, including women and children? You heard about the bombings. Currently, we have 97 children that have died during this war. Imagine someone taking down your Canadian flags in Montreal and other Canadian cities. I know that you all support Ukraine. We've been friends with you, Justin, but also I would like you to understand and I would like you to feel this, what we feel every day. We want to live and we want to be victorious." So, I mean, fair enough things to say, but still, in my opinion, not the best way to go about it. Zelensky asked Canada to increase its efforts in supporting Ukraine against the attack and stressed that closing Ukraine's airspace off from Russian aircraft was one of the was of the utmost importance. Can you imagine what you call your friend, a nation, and you ask, please close the skies, close the airspace, please stop the bombing? How many more of these missiles have to fall on our cities until you make this happen? Zelensky's address was followed by several minutes of applause by the Canadian legislature. Let's see if any video is actually linked in here, because I believe I have video linked to it. No, I don't have the video right now, but this is something that happened. We know that Putin does not care. President Putin does not care about his people. He does not care about his country, but he does care about his wealth, added Singh, who is a parliament member, Jagmeet Singh, who spoke after Zelensky spoke. So that's your bit of the news from Ukraine, from that part of it. But now I want to get a little bit further into this. So Russia had quite the response to this. Not directly related, but it's quite a funny thing that happened. Russia announced sanctions on Biden and several top U.S. officials. Now, this comes after the U.S. announced their own sanctions against. Well, I gotta reject these dang cookies. Just boop boop boop. Don't want them. Don't want them. There. I don't like cookies. Anyways. Russia announced that they will be indicting their own sanctions against U.S. officials and others. You're gonna like this list. Russia says it has put United States President Joe Biden, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, and a dozen top U.S. officials on a stop list that bars them from entering the country. Alongside Biden, U.S. officials on the list include Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, CIA Chief William Burns, and NSA advisor, or National Security Advisor, I should say, Jake Sullivan. The ban was in response to sanctions imposed by Washington on Russian officials. The Foreign Ministry later on Tuesday added Trudeau to the list of sanctioned individuals. The measures appeared to be mainly symbolic, as the Foreign Ministry said it was maintaining official relations and, if necessary, would make sure that high-level contacts with the people on the list could take place. Others on the list include Deputy National Security Advisor, U.S. Agency for International, just a lot of just long federal alphabet agencies, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Russia also banned from entry Biden's son Hunter and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. I gotta laugh. Now, it's not a good thing that the president of the United States is banned from being in Russia, but honestly, when was the last time that actually happened anyways? Russia, we already read that. The Foreign Ministry warned Moscow will soon announce additional sanctions against a range of Russophobic U.S. officials, military officers, I should say, legislators, and businessmen and media personalities. Earlier, the U.S. Treasury Department announced sanctions on 4 Russian individuals and one entity it accused of playing a role in concealing events around the death of whistleblower Sergei Magnitsky. Plenty of news about this. But I wanted to bring this story up just to show you guys where things are right now. This is getting childish, truly. It really is. Now, as Zelensky spoke, there's a lot of bad things happening in this war. Casualties on both sides. I'm not just going to focus on the Ukrainian side. There's a lot of Russophobia being spawned out of this as well. Plenty of people in Russia that either they support the war or they don't, but at the very least, they aren't fighting in it. All they're doing is being Russians. And you notice something? We haven't seen Russian companies or the Russian government directly attack the ability for Americans to live. Now, America isn't involved in the war. Russia is involved in the war. And I mean, sure, you could say it's between Russia and Ukraine, and there's been things against the Ukrainian people, against their ability to live. That's normal. That's what happens in war. Why are all these companies and media personalities and, I don't know, corporations, all these different things coming together against the Russian people? We haven't seen any Russian companies bar Americans from using their products or anything. And honestly, I think they should. Because in a sense, in all senses of the word truth, it has been Russophobic. Russophobia has spawned. So will we see American phobia? I don't even know what the word for Ameriphobia is. That might be the word itself. I don't know. It's such a strange thing we don't really see, because America is such a powerful player in the world economy, such a powerful player in world culture. They've got a lot of sway. We are a superpower, at least for now. But with the way things are toppling in the Biden administration, it's only a matter of time. Speaking of administrations, though, President Trump put out a statement today regarding the sanctions. Now, text is kind of small. I can't zoom in, so I'll read it to you guys. Breaking news. Russia just sanctioned Joe Biden. While it is a terrible thing in so many ways, perhaps it will now be explained why the Biden family received $3.5 million from the very wealthy former mayor of Moscow's wife. During our presidential debate, moderator Chris Wallace, then of Fox, would not let me ask that question. He said it was inappropriate. Perhaps that's why Biden has been so slow on the draw with Russia. This is a really bad conflict of interest that will, perhaps, now be fully and finally revealed.
billions,
Had to drop it. Billions and
billions.
and billions. I gotta pull out the Trump the Trump impression for what is going on. I do. The official list of people that Russia sanctioned. And I'm gonna pull up the list itself. Russian sanctioned stop list. I want to show that you guys the actual list itself. See if I can pull up like an image or so of it, because there's a straight up list, and Al Jazeera has it, but I want the actual list itself if I can find it. Oh, so it has different list of global sanctions. So here's one from CNN. So it goes down by the country. So let's go to like the United States. Secretary of State announced further actions against Russia on Monday, yada yada. So I want to see the actual people. I don't know. I don't think they're going to give me the direct list. I saw it previously, but I didn't save that one down. But you guys can understand, there are some crazy things happening with this list. But apparently, according to Jen Circleback Psaki, the Kremlin made a critical error in their list of sanctions. We're going to jump into that in a second. But before we do, I want to remind you guys that this show is, of course, 100% supported by viewers like you. I want to give a big thank you to our current Hall of Heroes, of which is Mark Cook at 104. He is our current monthly top donor. If you're interested in topping Mark Cook, then you know how to do it, although you'll have to beat that amount. If you've donated previously, you just add to your previous amount, and you can topple them. I add them all up to try to be as fair as possible in getting there. Also, shout out to Inespo, our most recent donor, at 50. So big thank you to both of them for supporting us. We also remind you that we are, of course, sponsored by My Pillow. I had to make sure I have the pillow here. So if you're interested in getting your hands on one of your very own, very comfortable pillows, then make sure you go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP, that is code CRUMP, for your very own discount on a pillow. Today, a lot of stuff coming from there, but let's hear what Circleback Psaki has to say. So she says, Russia sanctioning President Joe Biden, they actually made a mistake. I would first note that President Biden is a junior, so they may have sanctioned his dad. May he rest in peace. Hold on a second. Let's see what is this about, Psaki?
More on the sanctions were imposed today by Russia against yourself, President Biden, other top U.S. officials. Do you have a response to that? And how will it impact any of you, if at all?
Sure. I would first note that President Biden is a junior. So they may have sanctioned his dad. May he rest in peace. The second piece I would say
What?
is that won't surprise any of you that none of us are planning tourist trips to Russia. None of us have bank accounts that we won't be able to access, so we will forge ahead.
I don't know about that last one. We seen Biden and Hunter and all that Burisma mess. It would not surprise me if they had some offshore Russia accounts. But this is just funny. And not even funny in like the good way, like funny as in you're laughing at the administration. You're laughing at its dismay, which is not a good thing. The administration is making such a joke out of itself that it's clear to see they aren't serious in governing. They are not serious. President Biden is a junior, so they're actually sanctioning Joe Biden Sr., who, hold on, I gotta look it up. How long ago did Joe Biden Sr. die? And may he rest in peace, all that. But who is Joe Biden Sr.? Joe Biden Sr.'s parents, born in, did that say 1843? No, that can't be right. That cannot be right. Okay, Joe Biden's dad was born in 1894? Am I looking at this right? No, that's Mary. Okay, so Joseph Harry Biden. Okay, so there you go. Hold on. Let me see if I can find Joseph. I want to see this. So Joseph H. Biden. There we go. So Joseph H. Biden, who is Joe R. Biden's dad, was born in 1893 and died in 41. So you're telling me that somebody who died nearly or just about 80 years ago is the person that Russia is sanctioning, right? Are you serious right now? I don't even know. I don't think I'm doing my math right, but 1941? Let's just live math. 1941 minus 2022. Yeah. Wow. 81 years ago. This administration is not serious. This administration is not serious in the way that they are carrying themselves on the world stage. They actually sanctioned his dad. Psaki, come on. I gotta read the comments here. Wow, his dad was President Joe Biden. Oh, this is sad. This is sad. Wow. Didn't state POTUS. Have you not seen it yet? Oh, by the way, the Secret Republic was on Russian sanctions list. I wonder why. Whatever, folks. This story with Biden does not end there, however, because now Joe Biden is going to be joining other NATO leaders in Brussels to attend a European Council summit next week. Are we sure it was Joe Biden Jr. that was invited? Or we may actually have to resurrect Joe H. Biden from the grave so that he can attend this NATO summit, because, I don't know, if you don't specifically state it's Joe Biden, currently president, and the only relevant Joe Biden that is living, you might just be talking about his dad, apparently. That's how Jen Psaki and the United States government sees it. President Joe Biden, thankfully they made it clear, will travel to Europe next week to meet with world leaders and discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Jen Psaki said Tuesday. The president will travel to Brussels to participate in a NATO summit on March 24th, and will also join a European Council meeting, Psaki told reporters at a White House briefing. The trip, which will be one of the most closely watched visits to Europe by an American president in decades, comes weeks after Russia launched an unprovoked attack on Ukraine. Do take note, we are reading from CNN, so that is why the article is being skewed in this manner. He will also join a scheduled European Council summit to discuss our shared concerns about Ukraine, including transatlantic efforts to impose economic costs on Russia, yada yada. Psaki noted the president is a big believer in face-to-face diplomacy, and his goal is to meet with European counterparts in person to discuss where we are at this point with regard to the invasion. We've been incredibly aligned to date. That doesn't happen by accident. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg tweeted earlier on Tuesday, I have convened an extraordinary summit on the 24th of March, where we will discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine, our strong support of Ukraine, and further strengthening NATO's deterrence and defense. At this critical time, North America and Europe must continue to stand together. CNN had previously reported White House officials were discussing about having Biden travel to Europe and that Poland could be a stop. Russia on Sunday fired missiles and hit a large military base close to the Polish border, reportedly killing dozens. Poland is a NATO ally, and the military base has held joint drills with NATO and other Western military personnel. However, I believe it is worth noting this base wasn't on Polish land. It was close to the Polish border. More than likely the border it shares with Ukraine? Either way, there's a lot of madness that's coming with all this stuff. Can we trust this administration to keep us safe, keep us respected on the world stage? I don't truly know. I'm taking a quick look at Google Maps here just to see. I want to make sure, just to get a good look at this. So there's Poland, and that is a massive border that they share with Ukraine. And I'm sure, Belarus, something to do with it. Along this massive border here, and they're somehow trying to drag Poland into it. Sure, it was a military base somewhere along here. I guess probably not here, but around here or so. That's Poland, and that's Ukraine. That's a big border, folks. That's a lot of. Let's measure the distance. We're going back to school. Measure the distance between here, and here. Now that's not going to be exact, but that's about 180 or so miles of border. That's a lot of border, folks. Nearly 300 kilometers. And you're telling me trying to drag Poland into this mess? These people are grasping at straws. The media is lying to your face, and it's quite obvious that they're doing it too. People are being evacuated to Poland. It's a good point. It's great. People are being evacuated. I hope they stay safe. However, Poland is not being bombed. Now, if Poland was being bombed, that's World War III. Instantly. That's just how it happens. NATO would not let that stand. But NATO is basically extending its arm over Ukraine, which is a big problem. The reason why Russia has such a big thing against NATO having Ukraine within its grasp is that you have an enemy organization, as it is by definition, an enemy organization having a country right on your borders. That's a big problem. That's why we had problems back in the 60s with the Cuban Missile Crisis. We're digging a little bit into history because we had ourselves set up missiles, and I believe it's Turkey or one of those nations that's very close to Russia. Don't quote me on the exact country, but we had set up missiles close by to them. So they said, all right, let's put some missiles in Cuba. Let's make things fair. And that's when we had a big problem. So look at history through the lens of the 21st century. You can understand why there is so much of a kerfuffle happening with all this mess. Are you guys getting the idea here? And YouTube, big tech, don't interpret this as a justification of the war and all this. I don't like it when anybody is fighting and losing their life for something like this. This is just geopolitics. I don't like it. But unfortunately, like I said, it is also still geopolitics. But finally, shrinking down away from geopolitics and focusing a little bit more on domestic politics, we have the American economy in shambles. The wholesale price inflation has now reached double digits. This is getting crazy. The Producer Price Index, which measures the prices suppliers charge businesses and other customers, surged 0.8% on a month-over-month basis as of February. As consumer demand continues to spur inflation, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics announced on Tuesday. The PPI grew 10% on a year-over-year basis as of February. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones estimated wholesale prices would increase 0.9% on a monthly basis. So look at it like this. These are insane numbers. 10% of an increase from February 2022 to February 2021. Now it is increasing nearly an entire percentage point over each month. Something that costs, say, $1 this month will more than likely cost $1.09 or $1.10 in 30 days. That means if we break down the numbers, these items are literally rising by half cents by the day. 0.9%, divide that by 30 days. It's a small number, but still, it is rising by that percentage price every single day. And eventually that price is going to be passed along to you. What's happening, folks? Tuesday's report represents the first time the PPI reached a double digits figure on an annual basis since the index was created in 2010. Surging energy and commodity prices contributed to the growing wholesale prices, according to the BLS. Energy prices soared 8.2% in February from the previous month, while food prices grew 1.9%. The core price index, which excludes volatile items like food and energy, surged to a 4-decade high of 7.9% in February. An increase which will add pressure to the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates following its Wednesday meeting. Meanwhile, the Consumer Price Index, which measures prices paid by consumers, grew 0.8% in February on a monthly basis and 7.9% over a year basis. Yikes! Suzanne, this is my favorite pasta, went up $1 per box. It went up by an entire dollar amount, she claims, in comparison to what it previously was. We're not looking good, folks. It's not looking good. All these different issues coming together. Meanwhile, we're embarrassing ourselves on the world stage by saying Russia, it's talking about Joe Biden's dad who died nearly a century ago. Nearly a century ago. And now Saudi Arabia is turning around and saying, we might have to stop using the dollar and start using the yuan. Yes, the Chinese currency when it comes to trading oil. We may have to go through China for oil now. Saudi Arabia mulls pricing of China oil sales in yuan. Yes, Saudi Arabia is in discussions with Beijing about pricing some Saudi oil sales to China in yuan instead of dollars, according to a Wall Street Journal report. Chatter about this sort of arrangement has been ongoing for several years, but recent events have brought a new urgency to talks, according to the report, which says the Saudis are questioning long-standing U.S. security commitments to the kingdom. Among the issues are what the Saudis believe to be less than enthusiastic support for the war in Yemen, the White House's attempt at an Iran nuclear deal, and shock at the American withdrawal from Afghanistan. China is a buyer of more than 25% of Saudi Arabia's exported oil. The news would seemingly be of interest to the Bitcoin and gold markets, but for now there's little reaction, with the price of Bitcoin staying in the mid-$38,000 area. That's a little bit separate. We don't really need to care about that. So Roxanne says, his dad died in 2002. That was his grandfather. Is it 3 generations of Biden? Hold on. Joe Biden the third? So hold on. This is an important fact check here. We need to make sure we're talking about the right stuff. Because if his dad died 20 years ago, that's less bad. Although it's still kind of crazy that we're talking about it. So, yes, we're going through Joe Biden's parentage here. Just real quick. Because we've got a little bit of time left for this. Early life, Joe Biden was born. We're on Wikipedia right now. So Joseph Robinette Biden. So it is Robinette Biden Sr. Okay, so then let's just look up Joseph Robinette Biden Sr. Oh my gosh. This dang family. Let me tell you something. So Joseph Robinette Biden Sr. died in 2002. That's better. That is better. At least Joe Biden's dad was not born in the 1800s. Man, that is really unclear. Okay, so family of Joe Biden. This should be like a... Here you go. So grandchildren. We don't care about that. We're trying to look at so wives. I don't know. Okay. Parents and siblings. Okay, so 1942. That's when he was born. So his dad died in 2002. Wow, okay. Married in 1941. Janine Finnegan. Okay, so all that stuff goes to tell you. Okay. Thank you, Roxanne Shante, for the update. That makes things a whole lot better. It didn't make much sense for his dad to have apparently died 80 years ago. That's a good point. That's a good point. But you guys see that this is still an embarrassment. A massive one. For the world scale. More embarrassments coming at this one. I don't even know what I was talking about a minute ago with this Saudi stuff. The oil. Man. It's just an itch. It's an itch that we cannot get out of the way. Moving on to more embarrassment, though. Oh man. Former Pennsylvania Health Secretary Richard. I can't dead name him. Rachel Levine named among USA Today's Women of the Year. Oh man, stories of today. Dr. Levine spearheaded Pennsylvania's response to COVID-19 after cases were first reported in the state March 2020. She served as the health department secretary from 2017 to 2021 before joining the Biden administration as the assistant health secretary for the Department of Health and Human Services. With the move, the 64-year-old became the first openly transgender 4-star officer in the uniformed services and the first female 4-star admiral. During her time as the secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Health, Levine was both praised and criticized about handling of the pandemic. Some of the criticism she drew was related to her handling of the virus in nursing homes. No, don't tell me she was one of them. Levine was often the subject of transphobic comments to which she handled with tact. Your actions perpetuate a spirit of intolerance and discrimination against LGBTQ individuals, and specifically transgender individuals. I have no room in my heart for hatred, and frankly, I do not have time for intolerance. This is madness. Because this person, who was born a male 64 years ago, and in 2010-something, became a woman, and is now getting all these accolades, simply for being nominated and getting the job somehow during the Biden administration. 2017 to 2021, as the health department secretary in Pennsylvania. Man. The first openly transgender 4-star admiral, and the first female 4-star admiral. Oh, man. This is where we are in 2022. And 2021. What can I tell you guys? What more? Because they were sworn in just in October of last year, with a mask on. You can barely tell. This makes her the first openly transgender 4-star officer in the uniformed services. Man. Levine was nominated and confirmed as the assistant health secretary in March of 2021. Woman of the Year began to trend after this person was nominated as Woman of the Year. And man, let me tell you. Now, I'm just going to read these and not give my opinion. Hopefully I'll be okay. So a dude puts on a dress and gets appointed to a position, is now a Woman of the Year. Just curious how real women feel about that. Who did he bump off the list? Congrats to Admiral Levine for winning Woman of the Year. Oh, okay. She who champions women's rights and children is Woman of the Year in my book. And that, I believe, is that J.K. Rowling? I don't know. I can't even see that. Take me back. So yeah, that's J.K. Rowling. Rachel Levine is getting a Woman of the Year award for literally just showing up to work in a dress. Name any other reason she would earn this award. And last but definitely not least, Bryson says, it's 2022 and real women can't even win the Woman of the Year award. Whoa. I can't even say he's lying. I can't. All I can say is,
Rub my leg down.
It's what Rachel Levine is more than likely saying. That, of course, will wrap us up for the Chandler Brief today. We had a great show covering many different topics and having a very interesting thought about Joe Biden's parentage. Somehow we thought that his father died 80 years ago. Thankfully, it's only 20 years ago. But still, big mess all around. More of it coming tonight with more news. You guys are not going to want to miss out on Crump Live tonight at 8 Eastern Standard Time p.m. Don't miss it. And aside from all that, thank you guys so much for being tuned in. Thank you guys so much for your support. And aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence.
Into the light we go.